Hey there, students. San Marino High School senior Justin Hung here, reaching out to you today under the assumption that I've been hired by Macro Learning to give you an overview of the all-important AP Macroeconomics topic called Economies of Scale. That said, let's get started with me first defining the term economies of scale. Economies of scale refers to the lowering of a selling price when firms or producers make more of that same item. In other words, economies of scale are what makes our commercial world go around. Now, to take it a step further, I'll start off with a question. Have you ever gone to your local 7-Eleven or any supermarket and bought a basic sandwich with bread, lettuce, chicken, etc., or with a pinch of salt, perhaps? I looked it up, and the average price for that sandwich here in the US would be about $4.50. However, if you add up the total cost of the ingredients, you'd find that the costs don't add up. Seeds for the total amount of wheat grown to make that bread would cost about $69, in addition to the time it takes to grow, harvest, and process. The costs and process to grow that less would be present but more negligible. The chicken would also have to be bought, grown, and slaughtered. Finally, the salt would have to be harvested from raw resources such as seawater, boiled down, and finally processed into salt. So, how does economies of scale keep that sandwich from costing thousands of dollars? For simplicity's sake, I will demonstrate with salt. Why salt, you ask? It's because the process we will be using is the same process real corporate firms use to get salt. Now, let's say you want 6 ounces of salt to simply season that sandwich you got. And let's say you live in St. Louis, Missouri, in the middle of the US. To get to the east or the west coast, you'll need about $300 for that plane ticket. And you would need to travel about 975 miles. When you get to the sea, you rent a boat to go out to sea, which costs about $57. And you also buy a 5-gallon jug to collect seawater in, which is about $6.50. And considering that seawater gives about 4.5 ounces of salt per gallon boiled, you fill the container to about 1.3 gallons. Now, when you boil down the salt and take it to season your sandwich, your total production cost to get that 6 ounces of salt would be all the costs I just previously mentioned, $300 for the plane ticket, $57 for the boat rental, $6.50 for the 5-gallon jug, and you divide that by 6 to get a per cost per ounce of $60.58, more than 3 times the price of silver. Now, that may sound really bad. However, we can improve this. If the full gallon jug had been employed, we could take 5 gallons of seawater, and since with 5 gallons we can make 22.5 ounces of salt, our new cost per ounce would be on par with the price of silver. Despite this, we can scale even more. Let's say you rented the boat you rented earlier can hold up to 24 5-gallon jugs filled to the brim with seawater, and you bought extra jugs, just assuming you never reuse them. The cost per ounce would now be $300 for the plane ticket, $57 for the boat rental, 24 times $6.50 for the total number of 5-gallon jugs you have on board, and you would divide that by 108, which is how much salt you would be making in that trip. And from there, you can see that our cost has now been dramatically dropped to $4.75 per ounce. Finally, if you wanted to reach peak efficiency, you'd get enough salt to fill up an entire truck's worth of it. Assuming you can load a maximum of 46,000 pounds worth of cargoes, i.e. salt, and the cost of shipping would be about $1.40 per mile, your cost per ounce at this level of production would be $300 for the plane ticket, $57 for the boat rental, and you would use the boat rental 1,363 times to fully fill the truck. Add in the $6.50 multiplied with the 32,712 times you will be using the 5-gallon jug, and then you account for the number of miles you have to ship your cargo, which is $1.40 times 975 miles. Follow that up by dividing it with your total production, which would be 736,000 ounces of salt, and you get a price per ounce of $0.3 or just 30 cents. As you can see, by making items in bulk, the selling price of anything can be made lower on a per weight basis, and is this principle of economies of scale that keeps our modern economy rolling, and thus provides us all with a good reason to be thankful that we don't have to pay thousands of dollars for our basic meal. That about sums up economies of scale. The more of a product you make, the cheaper it can be sold on a per weight basis, and how it is a major factor in our modern consumerism economy. And that, my friends, is economies of scale. It's always a pleasure.